Stage here at the Roskilde Festival with one of the guys from Ghost. You're the Nameless Ghoul, one of the Nameless Ghouls. So tell me, we are less than 2 hours from show start. How do you prepare for a show?
Right now, just because we're playing so late, you're just trying to sort of keep an even level of distributing your energy, not to like overdo it or anything. After this, I'm gonna go watch a little bit of a Tenacious D and laugh a little, and then yeah. Usually, just because we're in the middle of a touring period as well, and we have been on tour for 9 months, I don't get nervous anymore. Whereas in the beginning of a tour, I'm super nervous just because you don't know how things work and you don't know the set and all that. But it's also a way of just pushing it back until just 1 hour before the show. Then you start prepping. You don't have to worry about it all during the day. Just 1 hour before show, go into character, go into mode, go into show mode, try to block everything else out, and then shoot.
Somebody told me that one of your very first shows were actually here at the Roskilde Festival when you formed Ghost. So how is it to be back?
It's great. This is actually personally the first festival I ever went to. At least without my mom, I guess. So for me, coming back here is always like Roskilde is always the big one. It was always the big one. In Sweden we had Hultsfred, but that was more of a homely thing, where Roskilde was the big one where all the big bands play. So I was here when I was 17. That was the first time. So yeah, I've always liked Roskilde. I'm really glad. I'm sad that we're not playing more often, but I mean, it was 5 years ago now, and this is the second time coming back, so it feels great.
But you've been to Denmark a lot of times in the past. Recently, 2 weeks ago in Herning, when performing with Iron Maiden. How was that show compared to this one?
So obviously it's going to be different because that was an opening up show. We're a support show. It was also in front of a Maiden, which is, from a personal point of view, absolutely fantastic. Great guys, big idols, fantastic crew. They treat us royally, but it's always a somewhat tougher crowd that you have to try to harness. The show was great up until the end. Until
Papa fell into a hole on stage. What happened to him?
Well, that's the odd thing about playing with Maiden. Every band that has ever opened up for Maiden knows that, what for them appears as openings between their risers stretching out into the crowd is when you have a backline and stuff standing on stage, tightening up the space. It's turned those holes into just holes in the ground, which is obviously very, very hazardous. And if you step one step wrong, and you are utterly screwed.
But he's okay.
He's okay now.
That's great to hear. Let's talk Meliora, because that gave you an American Grammy, and it opened up Ghost for a broader, a wider audience. Was that intended?
Yes and no. I mean, we from an artistic point of view, I think that we had used all the Lucifers and Satans in the choruses on the previous records, so I didn't feel like an urge to make another chorus that said "Hail Satan." But also from a record company point of view, and I know that there was a lot of discussions when we had Infestism out that the American label, who are very, very supporting, they were still it's a little bad that Monstrous Clock could have been maybe played on the radio hadn't it been for the Lucifer in there, and Year Zero might have possibly could have played on the radio hadn't it had the Hail Satan, and try to think about that when you make a new record, because we really think that your sound is definitely relevant in the rock radio format. And then we were like, okay, it's like, why not? And just try to write it in a way where you don't have that explicit word that completely disqualifies you out of that format. So it was more of a test, like, okay, here's a record. The content is absolutely the same. Just a choice of words. And lo and fucking behold, it worked. So,
as I see Ghost, it's a very serious band. You take your job very, very serious. You're performing strictly. It's nice, it's cool, it's streamlined, everything's good. But what I do like is that you have a pinch of self-mockery. Do you see yourself as a band with being able to take a piss on yourself?
Literally?
No.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I think that we as a band are very humoristic. I think we're joking all the time. I find us very jolly. And I myself have always been drawn to a lot of sort of humoristic sort of bands rather than the ones that are super serious. Even in the sort of more extreme metal world, I found myself gravitating towards the bands that took themselves a little bit more, that had a humoristic streak in it, and a sort of a glimpse, in their little twitch in their eye. And I think that that's very important, especially, I mean, if we weren't and trying to express those things that we are trying to express, and those things, it would have been, I can't even think that. For me, that is unthinkable. Part of what we're doing, part of what the entertainment that we're trying to sort of bring across to people, is partly laughing, and it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be entertaining and full of joy.
And it is a show when you go on stage. Throughout your career, you've been hiding behind masks and cowls. Why is that so important to you?
From a show point of view, it's important to remain masked. The whole anonymity thing was definitely something that I guess we were more focused on in the beginning, when we thought we were not going to be a band that's going to be played on radio, and we didn't think that we were going to become popular in this way. And then it seemed perfectly natural, like, yeah, of course we can be an anonymous band, and we can just appear, and no one will know who we are, and we can play a couple shows every year, and it will be fucking great. But then quite quickly we understood that, well, it seems like we're going to be touring, it seems like we're going to be playing a lot of festivals, it seems like we're going to be playing a lot of shows, and obviously we're not going to start at an arena level, so it's going to be very hard to keep our anonymity. So maybe we should have to take that with a slightly pinch of salt. And luckily our fans and most people that we are bumping into are still somewhat protective, but from our point of view, there's definitely a big difference between being anonymous and being masked. It's not the same thing. And for us, it's very important to remain masked when we are Ghost, when we are officially doing things as Ghost. But with that being said, that does not mean that we promise to remain unknown. We cannot promise that, and we are musicians. We do other things in life as well, and we're not going to do this forever. So if we choose to be in another band, or if someone chooses to do something else for some time, obviously that's not going to be in mask, and that's not the same thing as like revealing yourself.
But it's part of the show. It's
part of the show. If you go to see Ghost, if you pay money to go and see Ghost, you will see a masked band. If you go down to the pub next door and maybe a member of the band is playing without a mask, that's not the same thing. It's not a ghost context.
So, but it gives you a lot of possibilities, wearing masks and cowls and so on. You can bring in other members in the band. I heard Dave Grohl, Lizzie Hale. Is that true?
Well, Lizzie was we have our nuns, you know, so she was a nun one time. Yeah, theoretically we can do that.
But have you had other celebrity guests?
I can't tell you that.
Then you would have to kill me. Obviously, I get that. But tell me, if we go back to the show, some of our listeners may not have attended a ghost show. What will they have to expect?
I mean, obviously, it's if you don't like theatrical rock, you might not like what we're doing. I mean, musically, for anybody who's never heard of us, I would say it's very melodic, sort of rock with darker undertones. And it's a horror rock show. But with a lot of with a wee bit of slapstick in it.
It's been almost a year since myROCK came out. Are you working on a new album? What's happening in the future for Ghost?
Yes, we're working on a new album. Slowly, it's sort of taking shape. Right now, when we are about 2 months away from an EP release, that EP will sort of connect with myROCK. So it's not a new pop, it's not a new album. It's going to be like an extension of myROCK. That is going to prolong the tour. So we're going to do an American tour in the fall, and then we're going to come back to Europe in the beginning of next year and do like a bigger sort of final myROCK show. Yeah, in between now and then we will work on the new album, and after the European tour in the beginning of the year we're going to go into the studio and record a new album.
And will that require a Papa 4?
Yes. So next time you see us in Denmark, that will be the last time you see Papa 3 in Denmark.
Thanks for taking your time to talk to myROCK, and have a great show tonight.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks.